Hi everybody, my name is Matt and this is What Matters to Matt. And on today's video, I want to talk to you about the 5 tips that I have for picking that marathon training plan. All right, so it's this simple. I am not a running coach. I am no sort of nutritionist, doctor, or I have no qualifications that would actually say that I have the ability to tell you exactly how you should pick your marathon training plan. But what I do have is I'm a runner who likes to push the envelope as far as I can, move that needle whenever possible. I also have a family and kids, and I think that really factors into your decision on what sort of marathon training plan you're going to do. If you live a busy life, running is part of that life, but it's not the only part. So keep that in mind when we go over these 5 tips. They're not gospel, but there are certainly things that I look at when I actually pick my marathon training plan. Oh, and also on that note of family, if you happen to hear some kids yelling and screaming in the background, we've actually got the day off. It's a snow day here in Fredericton, New Brunswick. It's giving me the chance to make this video. So I'm in here filming a video and the kids are in another room having fun. Okay, so before we get to tip number 1, the one last thing I want to say is keep in mind again that these are just my own things, my own thoughts and my own experiences. And tip number 1 is to pick that race. For me, I'm pretty busy. I've got a couple of jobs and I've got the kids, as I mentioned earlier, and I need to be able to pick a race that is local for my spring marathon event. Maybe in the fall, things are looking a little bit more open for me in terms of maybe being able to go there and travel a little bit and take a couple of extra days, but I needed to keep things local for the spring. So for what I did was I actually picked the local marathon. I ran the same marathon last year. It's in May. Circle that date on the calendar and then looked back through the months, counted back to this week, and decided this is the number of weeks that I have to train for my marathon. And that actually narrows down the marathon plans that I can go with. I've actually got 17 weeks from now before that marathon actually starts. So I've got 17 weeks to actually train. That kind of bumps me out of doing a marathon training plan that's 18, 20, 24 weeks. That's going to be perfectly fine with me. I feel like 16 weeks is really the sweet spot for me when it comes to marathon training, but we'll get into that when we talk about some of the other tips that I have for each day. But first off, plug that date into the calendar, count back to today, and figure out exactly how many weeks you have to train, because that's really going to narrow down the training plans that you have to choose from. And tip number 2 I have here is to look at your current fitness level and be realistic on what that fitness level is. You can actually follow that 10% rule that a lot of us have probably heard about. Not sure that all of us have correctly applied that to our training plan or in our running. But if you're somebody who's just been running, let's say 25 easy miles per week, and you're looking at jumping into a plan where that first week might be 50 miles per week, and it has some sort of a tempo workout one time during that week, you might want to rethink what plan you're jumping into. Look at the last 4-8 weeks of running that you've been doing. Have you been doing any workouts? Have you been doing any speed work? If you have a couple extra weeks before the first week of that marathon, this is something that I generally do, that I've actually done with the plan that I'm choosing to go with, is that I take the first week of that plan and first off, I check to make sure that it's not far off from what I'm currently running. But I'll also actually run that first couple of weeks, a couple weeks leading into the plan. And there's a little bit less pressure that way. What I actually did last week, I'm on a 16-week plan. I've got 17 weeks out now. When I was at 18 weeks, I actually ran the first week of that plan, and I dropped one of the 2 workout runs that they have during that week just to start to ease into it. This week, my plan is to actually run the first week as scheduled. Next week, I will run that first week officially on my plan. But that allows me to kind of ease into that marathon training plan that I picked. And also, you just don't want to push yourself too fast, too hard, too quickly. So you need to be realistic on exactly what plan you're picking and try to go with that 10% rule wherever possible. Not too much more intensity and not too much more volume from what you're currently at. All right, so that third tip I have for you, and this is one of the bigger ones for me, is be realistic with your schedule. I've mentioned this before in several videos. I've got a couple of different jobs. I teach during the week. I also work at a local gym 2 nights a week and then on Sundays. And I've got family commitments, lots of stuff going on. So take that calendar where you first circle the date of when that marathon actually is and look back and start plugging in some of that other information, whether it be work commitments, whether it be some sort of a vacation you have coming up, all these different things that you're gonna have to work your running around. The reality is that most of us are not professional runners, so we work our running around the rest of our life and not the other way around. It is part of our life, it is not all of our life. So start taking a look at that. And I'll use myself as an example. I mentioned that I work at a gym on weekends. On Sundays, I work the full day. So Sunday is not a realistic day or the perfect day for me to schedule in my long run. Saturday is usually much more free for me, so Saturday is the better day for my long run. So when I'm looking at plans, I've got to be able to rejig that plan so that it makes sense within that plan to move it to Saturdays, or the plan originally has those long runs on Saturdays. But just something to think about. Really take a close look at that calendar so that you're setting yourself up for success and making sure that the plan fits well within the rest of your schedule. And tip number 4 probably comes as no surprise to anybody who watches my channel, but that is to not neglect the cross training. I'm somebody who loves to go in the gym and lift weights, and I like to mix that up with my running wherever possible, and I don't want to neglect that as I get further into the marathon training block. Cross training these days is seen as something that is not just an addition to your marathon training plan, but absolutely part of your marathon training plan. For me, it comes down to a couple of different things. I just love to lift weights, so I don't want to give up that part of my fitness journey just so that I can become or spend a little bit more time in my running. But B, I do think it really helps me in terms of maintaining a level of health and decreasing the risk of injury. So fingers crossed, decreasing that risk of injury as we go through this marathon training block. So as I get further into marathon training, just not totally neglecting that cross training, making sure that it continues to be part of your fitness journey. And the 5th and final tip I have here is actually to get yourself a running coach. Now, none of us live cookie cutter lives, and I think when you look at all these different questions or all these different things that you need to consider when you're actually picking out your marathon training plan, it can get a little bit intimidating, especially if this is your first time ever training for a marathon. It can be intimidating to figure out exactly what kind of plan to go with. We all have very, very busy, not all of us, but most of us have very, very busy lives. And answering all these questions and figuring out how to fit a cookie cutter training plan into your schedule can be incredibly difficult, and having the help of a running coach to do that will certainly make that whole process a whole lot easier and give you sort of the confidence that you're going on the right path to having a successful marathon race day experience. All right, folks, that's it for some of the basic tips for picking that marathon training plan. I am so pumped for this year. Got a marathon coming up in 17 weeks. Circle that date already on the calendar. Probably over the next week, I'll have to sit down and talk to you exactly about what my marathon training plan is and exactly why I decided to go with the plan that I went to. Really, really excited. I think it's going to be a really, really big year. If you want to follow me on my journey, please remember to hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, and comment in the comment section down below. What is your training plan for your next marathon? My name is Matt. This is What Matters to Matt. And ultimately, what matters to me most is my family. I'll see you guys in the next video.
Step 1, wake up early, gonna rise with the sun. Step 2, get some good, some food in you. Step 3, think real hard about what you wanna be. Step 4, everybody just do your thing.
Wake up, today's gonna be a good day. Wake up, today's gonna be a good day. Wake up.